Hey, everybody. Welcome to Zanzibar. I am Paul. Hope everybody is enjoying this beautiful spring weather as we are starting to warm up finally. After the cold winter, grass is getting greener. The plants are starting to look nice. Trees are getting their leaves on, and it's just a beautiful time of year. Our summer is on its way. Can't wait. So we have a great show for you today. We're going to meet Ralph Valdes. He at the age of 71, he is getting into the world of podcasting. He's had a very interesting life, some ups and downs along the way, but now as he turns his attention to podcasting, everything is falling into place for him. So without further ado, we are going to go and have a talk with my buddy Ralph. Hey, Ralph, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. If I was any better, I couldn't stand it, Paul.
Good thing you're sitting down then.
I love your sense of humor, dude. I love it.
It's sick, isn't it?
I love sick sense of humor. You know, my favorite comedian was all time was, Woody Allen.
Yeah, very dry. Wow.
Oh my God. And I just laughing, and my kids are looking at me and says, what the hell's so funny? My wife can't understand a word he says. You know, she's Cuban descent. You know, she speaks English, not, she's broken. She says, I don't understand what he's saying. I says, oh, this guy's got the greatest, driest sense of humor in the world.
Hey,
Do you like Woody Allen?
Yeah. I've never really watched Woody Allen. I talk like him, I guess, or act like him sometimes, but I mean, I never really watched him. I guess he might have been a little bit before my time and stuff. So.
Well, yeah, but you should go back. I mean, for those of you watching, if you have that dry sense of humor, you need to go watch these old Woody Allen movies, like Take the Money and Run, and it's his life story since he was a little boy, how he got involved in a life of crime. His name is always Virgil, by the way.
Really?
All these movies, yeah, his name is Virgil. There's another movie called Love and Death, where he talks about it's way back in the medieval times. And it's all about, how they imprison people in the devil and the siskel and the death. And I mean, his stuff is just fantastic. He's got another one called, which I think was one of his best, Sleeper. You never saw Sleeper?
No.
It's 200 years in the future. And he wakes up in a cylinder and he finds out he's 200 years in the future. I mean, you got to watch this movie because he was just so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
So if you like that type of humor, dry, wry humor, you got to watch Woody Allen. The guy was a genius. He's a genius. But not many people understand him because he's so dry.
I grew up, my dad had all the Bill Cosby records, comedy records.
Yes.
So I grew up listening to all those. I still have them somewhere, but those were funny. Those were funny.
Oh,
I mean, he kind of, but I mean, the early stuff and even the Cosby Show, the show itself, I love that stuff. That was funny. That was funny. Yeah, but hey, we will get back to the life, sports, music, and beer that's behind you in a few minutes, but. You are down in beautiful, sunny Miami, correct?
Dude, I wouldn't live anywhere else.
Really?
This is just fab. And I've lived in St. Louis as a young man.
You lived in St. Louis?
I lived in St. Louis because my brother.
I knew you visited there, but I didn't know you lived here. Awesome.
Yeah, my brother, when I say lived, I was there for maybe a year. But I did live in St. Louis because my brother. I lived in Virginia. I've lived in California. I was born in New York. God, countless other places. I've been all over. Tennessee.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, there's nothing like South Florida, man.
Really? Now, what took you to all those different cities?
Just life. When you're young, I had family members living in different places. I got a bunch of family members in California. So, when you're young, you just
go with the flow.
Move around. Yeah. Before I got married. And even after I got married, my wife and I, we went to a lot of places. And I invite people, I say, I don't know if you know this, but there's a statistic that I believe is correct. It says, I think it's like 85% of people never travel more than 100 miles from
Right.
where they
Right.
were born.
Right.
That's sad.
Right. I lived up in Rockford, Illinois for actually just about a year.
Mhm.
And that's really the only other place that I've lived other than St. Louis. But, on going on vacations and stuff, we would go all over the country. But my wife, she born and raised in St. Louis, never moved outside of St. Louis. I think the furthest she said that she went on vacation with her family was Cuba, Missouri. So she hasn't gone that many places. And we, since we've been married or together, we've been to Florida several times, Myrtle Beach, California. We're going to go to Hawaii this year. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I grew up, we drove all over this beautiful country and stuff and had a great time. And like we were talking before, off camera, that we drove all over the place. There wasn't all these there wasn't Wi-Fi, there wasn't all these screens that occupy us in the car. We actually had to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a great childhood, vacation wise and stuff. So I certainly invite everybody, as far as you can go, just get out and see this country. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah, you're in the minority, and you're absolutely
Mhm.
right. This is the most beautiful country in the world.
Mhm.
I've been to Europe. I've been to Central America. I've been to South America. Years ago, my wife and I were on a speaking tour, and we were just blessed enough to be taken to a lot of these countries to do public speaking and stuff. I don't want to get into that.
Mhm.
And I've seen a lot of parts of the world. I'll tell you, there's nothing like this country, Paul.
Mhm.
The
I agree.
sad part is that we take it for granted.
Mhm.
I always tell people we're spoiled, we're fat, we're lazy,
Yep.
we're just spoiled.
Yep.
You go to some of
Yep.
these countries to see how they live.
Mhm.
We lived in Costa Rica for some months, had businesses down there, wonderful people. But I got to tell you, this is so funny. The streets are full of potholes. This guy's driving me down the street. He's driving, and I'm not, this guy's driving down, and he's like going like this,
Really?
of just avoiding all the potholes. And I say, "What are you doing?" He says, and I'm looking, it's like, it's like, it's the most, I couldn't even believe it because, here we're used to these highways, man, where, you get on these beautiful highways. Even the streets locally over there, it's madness, man. I got to tell
Well,
you this story. You know
okay.
what? In Costa Rica,
Mhm.
we're I'm with this guy and we're heading toward an overpass. And I see that the overpass, the bottom of the overpass is all chipped and it's cement and it's all like cracked. And I'm saying
Mhm.
to the guy, what happened? He says, oh, he says, trucks keep hitting that. I says, what do you mean trucks keep hitting that? He says, yeah, here, he says, when they put a layer on the road, a layer of asphalt, they don't remove the layer that's there. They just keep piling them layers on. So the streets go. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it, boy. I said, "Are you serious?" He says, "Yeah, man, yeah." It's crazy, dude.
so
It's
so don't
crazy.
hire them to do to fill potholes
No,
around here.
no, that's
I mean,
crazy.
some of the streets around St. Louis here sound just like that. I mean, one road, Bayless Road, is just awful. And I have a big Jeep that's kind of jacked up a little bit, and you ride over that thing, and you're bouncing like crazy. It's nuts. It's nuts. But anyway,
So,
anyway, you had and I'm pointing up because as we were recording this, you're right above me there. So I'm pointing up. When it's not recording, I'm not sure which side you're going to be on. So I had this problem
oh,
with somebody else that I did. So I'm not
all
sure
right,
which side it's on.
that's
Anyway,
cool.
you had the very first sports equipment shop in Miami. Is that correct?
I did.
Tell me
This was
about that.
back in 1975. Let me tell you. Let me just backtrack
Let me
before
let
that
me
one.
just throw one thing in there. In
Okay,
75, I was 3 years old. I just want to throw that out
you had to throw that out there. Huh? Hey, I'm proud. Let me tell you something. I was born in 1950. I am so glad that I was born in that era. The
there.
only other era I wish I would have been born in was the with the era prior to that era.
Yeah,
My
I agree.
father's era.
I agree.
Beautiful. Just every, it's just, and in Miami, and back then, this was paradise.
Mm-hmm.
People would walk this, we would go downtown. I was a kid. I remember just downtown, the lights and the movie theater, and you could walk at 2 o'clock in the morning everywhere. There was no crime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the stores were open.
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking down the street with my mom and my dad in a suit, my mom with her high heels, just
Mm-hmm.
all dressed up. And oh, Paul, it was so different than
Yeah, I
it is
remember my
now.
dad. He was born in the 40s. I don't remember when in the 40s, but he was saying that when they'd never lock their doors, and
Yeah,
they lived in the inner city, and now you got to have 10 locks on the door to
yeah,
keep people out. But I mean, it was a completely different world back then.
it
Crazy.
was. It was. So
Yeah.
anyway, to get back to that, I've only had one job in my life, and I tell this to people because most of the people that I know are locked into their jobs, their 9 to 5s,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are miserable.
Mm-hmm.
They hate what they do. I say, why do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I fell into it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do. I started, and now I don't know what to do. There's nothing else I can do. I've been doing it for 20 years, 15 years, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
They do it for the rest of their lives and they're miserable. So I had that one job. Let me tell you what it was because I thought it was cool. I was in my I was about 20. I don't remember. It's too long ago. My first job was with General Electric Credit Corporation. And I got a job
Mm-hmm.
repossessing boats.
Okay.
And I'll never forget it. I was trained, my partner, the guy that took me out to train me, his name was, can you imagine? I still remember this, Sal Diarmas. He was a former police officer, little Italian guy, former police officer. The guy was a riot.
Yeah.
We used to go out and General Electric Credit, they would, that branch, they would finance boats.
Mm-hmm.
The boats that you put on a trailer and stuff like that.
Right.
And we would go out and collect. And if we couldn't collect, we would repossess the boats.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool because we had a hitch in the back of the car. I'll never forget. It was a green Malibu, had a hitch. And we would go out at night and we would just sneak into people's yards, take the trailer, put it on there and just haul ass. And I did that like for a year.
Yeah.
And one night we go to this guy's house. I'll never forget. It was in Liberty City. It was the black area of town. It was over town.
Mm-hmm.
And we back our car. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, dude. We back our car into this driveway. I never forget it. Sal says, open the gate. We very quietly open that. We swing that gate open. That car back. Grab the trailer. Taking that trailer. You know how you put it on the hitch?
Yeah.
Familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
Place that trailer. Everything's so, we're so used to this. We're pros at it, right? Dude, leaving it over and putting that thing, and all of a sudden I hear right next to my head a click. And I hear this voice that says to me, hey, Honky, what you doing?
Nothing, sir. See ya.
I got to tell you something, dude. I turned around and I see there's this gun pointed right at my head.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, shit is right. And I'm like this, and I look at, because Sal is right there's the trailer hitch. Sal is on the, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and his eyes open, and he goes like this with his hands, like, take it easy. I said, I'm thinking to myself, take it easy. I'm
Yeah.
shitting in my pants here. You know what I'm saying? He says, you want to put that back?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Take the trailer off. Hey man, listen, we're just doing our job. Sal is former police officer. He talks the guy down.
Mm-hmm.
He says, hey man, no hard feelings. You got to understand. He says, get off my property. We get in the car. Sal's driving. He drives off. We stop about a block away.
Mm-hmm.
And we look at each other. It's like, he pulls away. He pulls into this. Back then, it wasn't a 7-Eleven. Back then, it was a U Totem. It was like a 7-Eleven.
Okay. Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning, he gets down. We buy 2 6-packs. I don't drink, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I have a beer a week, maybe. Back then, I never tasted alcohol. I had like 8 beers that night.
Yeah, no kidding.
Seriously, dude.
Yeah.
The only time in my life that we sat there till like 5 o'clock in the morning, just drinking. It was amazing. So
yeah,
we went, we had a cup of coffee, we had breakfast, and I'm 8 o'clock in the morning. I go to the office, step into my boss's office. I'll never forget him, Jim Cooper. Wonderful man. Give him my keys, give him my ID card. And I says, Jim, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
He says, what happened? And as Sal is there, he says, what happened? I'll tell you what happened, Jim. I walked out.
Yeah.
So I go home.
Wow.
I didn't know what to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody said to me, hey, man, what do you like to do? I said, I love sports, man. Just go into the sports business.
There you go.
I says, like what? What do I do? I mean, what would you love to do? He says, I'd love to be a commentator. I'd love to be a sports announcer. Something like that. He says, well, I don't know if there's any positions for that, especially at your age. But, so I talked to my buddy and we came up with the idea, hey, what about a sports store?
Yeah.
He says, I don't think there's any around. So we started doing our research. There was no Google back then. So it was all, right? There was nothing, right?
Exactly.
So we started doing our research and there was one little tiny place that it must have been the size of a 12 by 12 room in Little Havana, what they call Little Havana, which was where all the Cubans basically resided. And this guy had a couple of baseball gloves and that's it. I mean, if you wanted to order something from him, you would order it through a catalog, through Sears catalog that was up in Chicago. So I said to my friend, I says, hey, why don't we open up a sporting goods store? He says, yeah, man, let's do it. I says, well, what do we do? He says, I don't know. Seriously, Paul.
Yeah.
No idea. So we did. We opened up our first, it's called Sports World. And this was like, I don't know, maybe 2,500 square feet. Back then you went to a shopping center, you got a space.
Right.
And you signed a lease. They didn't ask you for guarantees. They didn't check your credit, nothing. They didn't give a shit. Now ask me where I got the money.
Where'd you get the money?
I have no idea. Seriously, Paul.
Really?
We started reaching out to Wilson, Spalding, Rawlings, for those of you that are listening, all these huge companies, and said, listen, we're opening up a sporting goods store in Miami. And they said, yeah, we'll put some stuff in your store on consignment because back then there was nothing.
Yeah.
So we started reaching out to these companies. We got this place right on a main street. Nice store. We went in there every day. We got a couple of buddies to help us. We started building out shelves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Paul, we started filling that thing up. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves. We would go out handing out flyers to schools and stuff like that. Anyway, not to belabor this thing started taking off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are coming in droves to buy shit from us because we had stuff that nobody else had. You had to get them by catalog.
And you you physically had the product there, right?
We had it there. We had Spalding, Rawlings gloves, the first A2000 gloves. If anybody out there is listening knows what an A2000 glove, that was revolutionary. An A2000 glove was a Wilson glove that was designed for infielders.
Oh, okay.
Because back then, all the gloves were basically the same size. Everything was being revolutionized. And anyway, man, we started filling that store up. And all of a sudden, this thing started taking off. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. It was the most beautiful thing because we were in our element. And Paul, you love sports.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Imagine being in that world where everything around you is sports. Wouldn't you love to do that?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Oh,
live it, breathe it every day.
Yeah. So, we started getting the word out to all the schools and all the public schools in the county. They would start, we would register with them and we would start. It was amazing, Paul. It was I have no idea how this thing took off, but it did.
Yeah.
Started sponsoring softball teams.
That's awesome.
Semi-fast softball teams. We had major league ball players come in and play on these. It was
really
amazing. Oh, Paul, was it Bert Camp? You know who Bert Campaneris was?
No.
Shortstop for the Oakland A's back. I mean, this This was in the 70s. He was an all-star shortstop.
I don't know
Jackie
the name.
Hernandez,
Yeah, no
shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
These are, probably before your time.
Yeah.
But these were bona fide major leaguers. So
Wow.
this back then it was remember back then Miami was drug city.
Mm-hmm.
This is where all there was a lot of money in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the drug cartels in Miami.
Yeah.
So I got to a point where I basically controlled, when I say it was, sports world, we basically controlled the sports industry on there for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And all these semi-fast softball teams started growing, and all these former major league players would come and play. It was a beautiful thing. Dude, I made money hand over fist.
Really?
And I had no idea what to do with it.
Wow.
We had drug dealers come into our store with bags full of money, $30,000, $40,000.
Damn.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Back then. Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. Wow.
It was an amazing thing. Then we had that one store. Then we opened up another store. Then we opened up a third store.
Wow.
Now, during that time, a couple of more stores started springing up because it's just like anything. Okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We had the exclusive to Nike shoes from 1975 to 1980.
Wow.
Nobody knew who Nike was.
Yeah.
We're the first ones to carry it. We had the exclusive to K-Swiss. You ever heard of K-Swiss?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. We had the exclusive for those 5 years.
Wow.
Now, what happened was...
Exclusive in Miami or exclusive in the whole country?
No, in South Florida.
Okay. Right.
In South Florida. They were just getting, started.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing thing. We had Converse shoes. You name it, we had it.
Mm-hmm.
We built a part of the store. It was called a dugout. We had the guy come in and build it all to look exactly like a major league dugout. We had an indoor track made where people could try on their shoes and run around the track. Paul, it was just an amazing experience. What a beautiful experience it was. Damn. And then, like everything in life, has a beginning, has an end. Because everything in life starts and ends. Sports Authority comes along.
There it goes.
And they put me out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way, just like Dick's Sporting Goods
put
Sports Authority out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I've got one of the guys that was a manager of one of the Sports Authority stores. I've got him on my list to interview him. I met him when I had my heart therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me the story of why Sports Authority went out of business.
Really?
Interesting story. I'm not going to burst his bubble. It was just a very interesting story, how they didn't play their cards right, blah, blah, blah. And now the market is dominated by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Dick's Sporting Goods, Amazon. There's another sporting goods store I can't remember the name of it though. I don't remember the name of it. Something Authority. It's not Sports Authority, but it's something else.
I've never heard of another one.
Yeah. But there's another one, at least around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's incredible. All from just, hey, I love sports. Let's do a sporting goods store.
Yeah, and I've never had a job since. I've done a bunch of stuff. I encourage people. I said, there's nothing like doing stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Of course, it takes, you got to have the right person next to you. My wife has always been, very supportive of me, blah, blah, blah. But you name it, dude, I've done it. And that was just the beginning of the stuff that I've done. While we opened up one of the sporting goods stores, I had an idea one day. You don't know about.
Okay.
I had an idea one day. Back then I had one of my kids was 5 years old. His name is Donovan. He lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina now. Mm-hmm. Did I tell you about, he's an art designer now. He does all this stuff.
I think you did.
Ask Kyle about him. The kid is a genius at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He was 5 years old. He had beautiful hair, long hair, like yours. Yeah, he had long hair.
Yeah. And
we couldn't get his hair cut anywhere. I would take him to all these barbershops and he would scream, bite, kick. They couldn't sit him in a chair. He bit one guy once in the hand. The guy says, "Get the hell out of here. I can't deal with this shit." And his hair was all, was long. And I said, "We got to do something."
Yeah.
So I said to my wife, I said, "Look, I we got to get his hair cut somehow." So I call a cousin of mine who's a hairstylist.
Yeah.
I says, "Iris, this is what I want to do." I had this brain fart. I says, I'm going to try something. So I went out I bought myself a hydraulic base. You know, the hydraulic bases they use to
Yeah.
pump up, you know, when you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I got a hydraulic base. I went to back then Toys R Us, which was no, it was Play World
Play
back
World.
then.
Yeah, we don't have
Right?
that here.
You know, that's been out of business for years.
Yeah.
Back then it was the place. And I bought myself a little fire engine,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of kids sit in and they.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, I got that. So I take my hydraulic base with the fire engine and I go to this guy that I know that does soldering. And I says, listen, I'll never forget this guy's name, David.
Mm-hmm.
I said, David, I want you to take this fire engine and somehow put it on this hydraulic base so that it's level.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And go up and down. He says, I don't know how to do that. I says, me neither. Figure it out. So the guy did. He took the fire engine, he made this little thing, this adjustment, he put it on the base, and then all of a sudden you had a little car on a hydraulic base. And you know, you pump the hydraulic base and the car would go up and the car would go down.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I had my wife do these little what is it that I forgot the name that they put on you when you're getting a haircut so the hair won't, you know,
Those
like
little apron
cape.
things or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Cape
cape.
things. Yeah.
She
Reverse
went and she
cape or
got some
something.
cloth with the, you know, with the little Sesame Street and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, Disney and all that kind of stuff. She made a little cape with the little buttons on the back, and so I call my cousin. I says, "Listen, I'm ready." She comes over. She's a hairstylist. I
Mm-hmm.
says, "We're gonna try something, okay? I'm gonna sit Donovan down in this chair. All right. I'm gonna put a little TV in front of him, and I'm gonna stick
Mm-hmm.
a lollipop in his mouth and give him a coloring book or some, you know, a little reading book.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to try to cut his hair." So I take Donovan. Here's the fire engine. He looks
Mm-hmm.
at the fire engine. He loved it, right? He gets on down the fire engine,
Like most kids would. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And he sat there throughout the entire haircut. Didn't say nothing. Just
Wow.
not a peep.
Wow.
I said, "Really? Okay."
There you go.
You know what I did? And this was one of the biggest mistakes of my life afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I'm going to open up a business,
Yeah.
hairstyling for kids." So I started doing some research. There was none, at least in the United States, there was not one place
Really?
that did nothing but hairstyles for kids. So I got the name for
Mm-hmm.
kids hairstyling, for kids only hairstyling.
Mm-hmm.
And right next to my sports store, there was an empty store. I built that out. I had this guy come in that did it from Cuba. This guy was a tremendous, he used to design all of the carnivals. Yeah, I don't know if you know, in a lot of these Latin American countries, they have carnivals where they have these huge floats, just like the New Year's Day.
Oh yeah.
parade.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hispanic countries are huge on that.
Yeah.
So I knew this guy that did that stuff. He came in and he designed this place for me. And it was all based on trains. I had I'm talking about a huge train. He did the caboose and the engine and the stations for the kids to sit on were all little. I mean, you had to see this. You had to see this place. It was like a little Disney World.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I had 12 stations, 12 hydraulic bases. Each I had a Batmobile. I had, you know, all.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, Paul, for kids only hairstyling, dude.
I bet you'd have trouble getting kids out of there.
Paul, it was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. We would cut 12 stations. We would cut on an average Saturday over 200 haircuts.
My God.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Was amazing.
Yeah.
The business started booming. And like an idiot, I did not franchise it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't care. I was making so much money with my sports store. And the lesson to be learned is that when you have good times, you better put some stuff away.
Yeah. Because there'll be bad times.
There'll be bad times, dude. It's a biblical principle.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's, you know, like the fat cows and the skinny cows and all that kind of stuff. But
well, damn.
No, it was
both of those would have been good. I don't know if the sports store would have survived Sports Authority and Dick's and Amazon and all that stuff, but yeah, that kids only haircut thing would be awesome.
Oh, dude, you know, it's still around. Let me tell you what happened. Things started going bad.
Mm-hmm.
One day, anyway. So basically, we had to close the sporting goods store. For kids only is still functioning. We're working that. We're making some money. You know, not what we used to, but we opened up another hairstyling boutique in another right near us, another part of the city. Then we opened up another one up so we had three of them going, and things were going good. But I felt I needed to do something, man, because I can't sit around. I got to be doing something new.
Yeah.
So,
Now, did you cut the hair too, or did you just run the thing?
No, I just ran it. I had no idea. Yeah, who the hell knows? Anyway, so I had people go in there and take care of it for me and stuff like that. My daughter did for a while. I left it in the hands of other people, and the thing started going to crap.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know how it is. If you're not there to tend to your businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a long story. At some point in time, we basically lost everything. We got evicted from. See, there's such great life lessons here, Paul.
Yeah.
Here we are with 5 kids. We got evicted from our home.
Ooh.
All the furniture is outside on the street. We're sitting there, my wife and I, with 5 kids, dude.
Wow.
Didn't have a place to sleep.
Wow.
Nothing. Didn't have anything to eat.
Wow.
And I said I was crying. My wife is an animal, by the way.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I says, what do we do now? She says, I know. You're going to law school.
Wow.
I says, what the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about tonight. What do we do tonight?
Yeah.
Where do we go? She
law
says,
school.
I'll handle that in a second. Yeah. She says, I'll handle that. Don't worry. I'll call my mom. We'll figure something out for tonight. But you're going to law school. I says, why law school? He says, because your father always wanted you to be a lawyer.
Wow.
I says, yeah, but I don't want to be a lawyer. She says, yeah, but you got to do something.
Yeah.
And I said, forget it. So, that night, like everything resolved. One day, a few weeks later, I get a letter in the mail from St. Thomas University School of Law. And I look at this. I open it up, and it says, we're returning your application because you forgot to sign it. Please sign your application and return in the self-addressed envelope.
Your wife did it?
She filled out the up. Now, you got to what you don't know is that St. Thomas University, that was how do you call it when it's the first year? It's a brand new school.
I don't know.
There's a name for that. It's like the fledging. They were just going to open. So basically, this was in 1984, I think it was, that they started. Because I got my law degree in 87, 3-year. In 84, so they said, return the application. I said to my wife, what the hell is this? And she says, oh, yeah, just sign the damn thing and send it in. Wow. I says, how the hell am I going to pay? I don't even know. First of all, I don't want to go. Number 2, I don't know how the hell we're going to pay for it. She says, don't worry about it. They'll admit you, and somehow we'll find a way to pay for it. He's working 3 jobs. Right.
What, she was?
He was working 3 jobs.
Wow.
She was teaching piano. She was teaching at a school. She was cleaning offices. It was like, my wife's an animal, dude.
Wow.
So, she sent in the application, and I'm accepted.
Wow.
I don't know. Did you go to college?
Oh yeah, Webster University.
That's right.
Here in St. Louis. Here in
Webster University. And you got a degree in what?
Broadcasting.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, see, I went to college. I don't know what kind of degree I got.
Really?
I think it was a BS because
bullshit.
BS.
That's what we called it.
Right?
Yeah.
I never went to class. I used to go. Yeah, I signed up. It was in Miami Beach. It was a few blocks from the water. My buddy and I, we went to college. We had our trunk full of all our scuba gear. We took all our classes at 7, 8 in the morning. So by 10 o'clock, we were out.
You're done on the beach.
Rest of the day on the beach. Yeah.
Why not?
I didn't crack a book. I didn't give a shit. So when I graduated from college, I had like a 2.2 grad.
Wow.
It was like,
That's actually pretty good for not opening a book.
Isn't that something? Yeah. I don't know how the hell that happened. But the beauty of the whole thing was that because this was a new law school.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could walk, and like they say, chew gum or
walk and chew gum.
Wave goodbye, and when if you could do that, they would admit you.
Wow.
So they admitted me into law school. Here I am. I'm 34 years old. Everybody there was in their early 20s. And there I am. All of a sudden, I'm in law school.
Wow.
Yeah. 5 kids. My wife is working like an animal. So I says, well, I may as well make the best of it, right?
Yeah.
So I go through law school.
Yeah.
And I get my degree. And then I say, what do I do now? I was offered a job at the public defender's office. But what they were offering me is pay, it was like, I couldn't. 5 kids. I don't even know how the hell we made it through those 3 years, Paul. I mean, there's so many life lessons.
Your wife.
Yeah, but even then, it was like, are you kidding me? Listen, you got 1 kid. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah. Just one. Yeah.
Just one. So it was like, you ask me now, how did you get through all that? I have no idea. How did you pay for law school?
No idea.
No idea. I know I got a couple of student loans, which, by the way, this is 2022. I'm still paying.
Really?
I'm still paying for student loans.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the only thing Biden does well is get rid of the student loans.
Don't hold your breath.
No, I don't hold my breath. So I graduated from law school, Paul.
What was your law degree, and what specialty did you have, or did you have one?
No, you just get a law degree.
Oh, law degree.
And you specialize in, in law school, you can take certain courses. But basically, when you graduate from law school, you don't know jack shit. The only thing they really teach you is how to rationalize, how to think.
Okay.
Because when you get a case, you either take one side or the other. You got to have a good, it's all about rationalizing and critical thinking and that kind of stuff. That's what they teach you. They teach you some law.
Right.
But so when you graduate, you really don't know what you're doing. And I remember I got out of law school and I said, I'm not going to work for anybody. I was offered a job at the public defenders, which I interned for them a while. It was a joke. The legal system was just, it sucked.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to open up my own little office. Then again, Paul asked me how I did it. I have no idea. And I mean that. Paul.
Find a way. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I opened up I talked to one of my professors who, I developed a friendship with, great lawyer. And he had a little office with a buddy of his who was in real estate, a former lawyer, got disbarred. I'm not going to get into that. And I rent a little office, little tiny office. And this was cool. You got to listen to this. I rent a little tiny office and I put my shingle out, and I started handing out cards and stuff like that. And I get some clients, but I'm struggling, dude.
Yeah.
And this guy, the guy that owned the building, that was the lawyer that was disbarred, he walks into my office one day and he says, hey, man, how are things going? I said, Andy, not good, man. I'm really struggling. He says, yeah. He says, hey, let me ask you something. He says, how much are you charging per hour? And I said, $75 an hour. He says, what? $75 an hour?
That's cheap nowadays.
Yeah, well, remember, this was back then.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, Andy, why is that too much? He looks at me and he says, hell no, man. What are you, nuts? You should be charging at least $150 an hour.
Wow.
And I said, Andy, they're not paying me 75. How the hell am I going to charge 150? And he says something to me that I'll never forget. He says, listen, man, don't prostitute yourself.
Right.
The less you charge, the less they think you know.
Exactly.
The more you charge, the more they think you know.
Exactly.
And I said to him, Andy, I don't know shit. He says, yeah, but they don't know that.
You don't advertise that.
No, they don't. So I remember I said, well, okay, I start charging 150. Dude, the business started coming in.
There you go.
Like incredible.
Yeah.
It was like, God has been it's an incredible story. So my practice is growing. Then I go to my professor who's down the hall, the guy that got me in, and I said, hey, listen, my business is growing. He says, hey, man, I wanted to talk to you. Why don't we open up our own law firm? I says, yeah, okay.
Wow.
So we get together with another friend, another lawyer who had been practicing for some years. I'm a rookie. I'm an idiot. He says, let's find a space. So we go and we find this beautiful space, half of a floor, the 8th floor of what they call down here, the TerraBank building, which is a beautiful building with my office. The office that I chose had a huge window that was like the SS Enterprise. It was round.
Wow.
And I could see the entire city.
Wow.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So we get this place, half the place, and we start getting lawyers to work for us, 12 lawyers.
Damn.
And we build a practice. Is what they always ask me, what kind of law did you practice? And I said, door law.
Door law.
Yeah. I says, anything to walk through the door.
Yeah. Hey.
We had one lawyer because we would get a piece of the action. I had one lawyer that did bankruptcy, the other did divorce, the other civil, the other real estate, blah blah blah. And I remember I had once the first secretary we had, this elderly lady. I said to her, "Listen, I'll never forget her name, Isabel." I said, "Isabel, the offices were beautiful, man.
Yeah,
mahogany wood and all that shit." I said, "Isabel, when somebody walks through that door, you don't let them out. You got a potential client that walks through that door." If you have to lock the door behind them, they're not getting out.
Right.
Whatever it is that they tell you, their services they need, we're experts at it.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Well,
we started growing that shit, Paul.
Damn.
And
damn.
It was like, once again, the money started coming in. I've been blessed. My wife and I we buy this beautiful house, cars. And once again, I pissed my money away, Paul.
So that's 3 businesses pretty much on just a whim on each one of them.
On each one of them, dude. And the lesson there is
trust your gut.
Really, no, here's something that somebody said to me many years ago, and it never really registered until after I did all this. This Jewish guy that I admired a lot, very successful businessman, he said to me, and I've got, between all that stuff, there's a lot of other stuff that I've done.
Right.
I mean, this is just icing on the cake, what I've told you. He said to me, and this is a lesson to learn. He said to me, "Listen, Ralph, when the dream is big enough, the facts don't count.
Wow.
Never worry about the why or the what, you see, or the how. Figure out what you want to do and why you want to do it. And the how will take care of itself."
That is great advice.
Isn't that great advice?
Yeah.
Think about that, Paul.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I've done it every time in my life, unconsciously. So I never even thought about it. And it's true.
Say that again.
He said, there's 3 things that you need to, there's a formula, which is what, the how, and the why. Okay. The what, the why, and the how is what he said it. He says, if you figure out, you got to figure out what you want to do and why you want to do it, the dream. And if you get those 2, don't worry about the how, the what, and the why. How you're going to do it is none of your business. If you put it out there, if your dream is big enough, if what you want to do and why you want to do it is big enough, how you're going to get it done is none of your business.
It'll get done.
It will get done. And I remember back the sporting stores, the for kids only. Oh, and I didn't tell you, I built the first batting cages in Miami.
Wow.
I rented this huge lot right on the main street, and I built out some beautiful batting cages with Curve Master. These machines, each machines back then, each cost like $2,500.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, the stuff that I've done. And then when I was practicing law, I got involved. Have you ever been involved in a multi-level? No. You ever heard of the Amway business?
Amway? Yeah.
Yeah. I got involved in Amway. I hated practicing law. And I get a call from one of my fellow lawyers, a good friend of mine that went to law school with me. She says to me, "Hey, I want to show you a business opportunity." And I said, "I'm open for anything," because I hated what I did. Wow. I hated the law. All I did was argue.
Yeah.
All day. You argue with the clients, you argue with the judges, you argue with the lawyers, you argue all day, which is another lesson to be learned. Never mix work with home.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Spend all day arguing. And it got to a point where I started taking it home with me. My
Mm-hmm.
wife and I, someday you'll have the pleasure of meeting my wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful
Hope so.
human being.
Yeah.
Human. I mean, she's just, and our relationship has been the envy of everybody that we know because Paul, the relationship
That is
that
awesome.
I have, I am so proud. That's the one thing that I'm most proud of in my entire life.
Wow.
Is
And
my
how many years have you guys
relationship.
been married?
44.
Wow.
When I married her, she had 3 kids. I had 2 kids from a previous marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So we got together. All of a sudden, it was 5 kids, because people ask me, well, how many kids you got? Most people would say, well, I got 2 kids from my first marriage and 3 kids.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
Her kids are my kids, and my kids are her kids. It's just the way that it is.
Right.
You see. So I remember one day, and this is a lesson to be learned. I brought my work home with me one day.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened was I got home and we never raised our voice. Paul, I can't even begin to tell you the relationship
Wow.
that we have is amazing.
Yeah.
And here's the lesson. I got home one day and I brought my work home with me and we're talking. I snap at her and I just start talking to her like she was a client or she was. And man, she looked at me. My wife is 5 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you don't want to mess with my wife.
It seems like the shorter they are, the more bite they have.
Isn't that something?
My wife is in the same boat.
Really?
Same height, just about. She's 5'1".
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
A real firecracker, huh?
Well, especially when it comes to me.
Yeah.
Just gives you a look and you're done.
There's nothing like having a strong woman, man.
Oh, yeah.
We could get in. Let me tell you something. We could do a whole seminar just on women.
Mm-hmm.
I admire nobody in the world more than women. The
Mm-hmm.
stuff that they're capable of doing and of thinking and of just create. I don't know where the hell we'd be.
Right.
Without women. And I'm not just talking about physically because they give birth. That's
Mm-hmm.
another story.
Yeah.
Women.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's like the greatest thing that God has ever made. And so anyway, I get home that one night and I start snapping her. She looks at me. This was a beautiful home, the cars,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate what she looks at me. She says, excuse me? Yeah. She says, let me stop you right there. This is very simple. Okay. Because that's the way this is very simple. You talk to me like that again. There's the door.
Wow.
There's the door.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kick your ass out and I'll take all your clothes and I'll take your guitar and all that shit that you got and I'll throw it out there. And if you so much as come, I mean, she just started ripping me a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And that night I said, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
So we were involved in the Amway business. And then in the Amway business, I mentioned that because I got introduced into public speaking. My
Mm-hmm.
wife and I were taken all over the world.
Wow.
And I literally all over the world doing public speaking. We were one of the first few Hispanic couples.
Yeah.
So they would take us everywhere. And my wife, gorgeous blonde, and,
So you're one of those couples, gorgeous blonde, then.
Yeah. You want to get into that.
Yeah.
Everybody always says to me, says,
same way here.
Dude, yeah. You must have had a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. So I don't even know where the hell I was at. Oh, the public
speaking.
We used to do
Sorry.
all that. And I learned so much in life and we just enjoyed a beautiful life. But I learned that there's one thing you need to take care of. And I did a lot of divorces in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one thing you better take care of that one person who decides to be with you.
Yep.
Right, Paul? Because when you get old, dude, all of a sudden you start looking around.
Mm-hmm.
It's an empty room.
Yeah.
People flee.
Yep. Especially when it comes time to change those adult diapers.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you said that. I'll share this with you because this is what I used to tell. I did a lot of divorces, like I said, and I had these couples come in, married 20, 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they would sit in front of, they would come. And usually when the couple comes in, is there some way to do this? What they call an uncontested divorce.
Right.
And usually if they had kids and property, it was tough to do an uncontested divorce.
Mm-hmm.
As a lawyer, ethically, you would say to one of them, listen, I can only represent one of you unless you two have already agreed on everything you want. You know exactly who's going to get the kids. If not, one of you has to get a different attorney.
Right.
That's the spiel that you would give. And I remember, how long have you guys been married? Oh, 20 years. The kids are gone. And here's what I found out. Here's the one main thread.
Mm-hmm.
Most couples, they get married and they have kids, and they all of a sudden they base their whole life on the kids.
Yeah.
And they stop being friends.
Mm-hmm.
The kids take over. So when the kids leave one day, because it's a natural law of life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nowadays I'm not too sure, because
Yeah.
kids nowadays, right? They stay home till they're 40.
Yeah. No kidding.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the kids leave, the parents look at each other and they say, "Who the hell are you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you,"
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't developed that relationship in years.
Mm-hmm.
So I always, my wife and I did a lot of marriage counseling, and I would always tell people, listen, it's a long story, but you got to go back, and you always got to remember that person that's sitting next to you when the kids
Mm-hmm.
are gone. That's all you got.
Yeah. So I wonder if nowadays, with all of the screens and gaming and stuff, and the kids are spending more time on that away from your parents, I wonder if that's helpful for the parents. Because I know my son spends a lot of time in his room on his gaming and on his screen and stuff. And, we spend a lot of time together, and my wife and I spend a lot of time together, and I mean, we're great. We're great. So I wonder if hopefully that has something to do with it. He comes out every now and then, but
He comes out every now and then.
when he's hungry or has to go to the bathroom or something.
He comes out of the bat cave, right?
I need food.
Food. So you think that helps your relationship?
I mean, it could. I mean, we're focused on each other more. I mean, we still have a good relationship with our son. I mean, don't get me wrong there. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of the time it's me and my wife planning dinner and doing stuff like that together. Yeah. So that's awesome. We do all our shopping together, and I mean, we have a blast. I mean, we're cracking each other up in the car. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, I'll tell you this: you're in the minority. Yeah. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but then again, we didn't get together until we were in our late 20s, early 30s, and I was married before, and we both had bad experiences in life before we met each other. So we always say that we had to go through the bad to appreciate what we have now, and we do.
Very true.
We do.
Well, why is it that people then some people go through 2, 3 marriages, 4 marriages, man? They can't find.
Who knows? Yeah, they just can't find what they want, or there's something wrong with them. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember talking to all the guys that I would talk to, because at some point in time I would always say, listen, can I speak to your husband alone? Usually that's what I did. I focused on the husband, because I somehow in my mind, I always had the feeling that it was the husband. Mm-hmm. I always focused on the husband first. So, I would get the secretary would take the wife out and get her some coffee and sit down and talk to her. And I would talk to the husband. Mm-hmm. And I would always say, what is it that do you remember the first thing that you loved about your wife? Mm-hmm. What attracted you to your wife? And they will come up with all kinds of stuff, And I said, so I'm like, well, I loved her eyes, or I loved the way she walked, or she's beautiful, or just whatever it was. I says, when's the last time you told her that? Mm-hmm. They couldn't remember, dude.
Wow.
And most of them would leave their wives because they had a lover.
Yeah.
A lot of them, a good percentage of them, their secretary or somebody they met at work or something like that, they would always, and and I would look at them and I say, how old are you, man? I said, well, I'm 57, I'm 62. And I said, well, this chick you're going out with, how old is she? Well, I think she's in her 20s and stuff. I says, dude, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, I used to deal a lot with professionals.
Mm-hmm.
I said, come on, dude. In my
Yeah.
office, I had this full length mirror,
Mm-hmm.
ones that had a little swivel. I had it right next to my desk. I had a beautiful office and I had this full length mirror. And most of these guys, they're short little guys, fat, old, in their 60s or all.
Yep.
And I would say, hey, Jose, come over here for a second. And I would take him, and I would put him in front of the mirror. And I said, look at, what do you see, Jose?
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever. I said, Jose, look at you, man.
Yep.
You're
It
balding.
works.
You're balding. Look at
Yeah.
that pot belly. Well, no, listen, dude, I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah.
Look at this. That 28-year-old chick you're going out, what do you think she sees in you, man?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm nice to her. Dude, it's your money.
Yeah.
She gives a crap about.
Yeah.
You see? Now, let me ask you this. And this is the question that I would ask. And this is another life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, Jose, let me ask you something. When you grow older and one day you're bedridden
Mm-hmm.
and you're lying in bed and you can't get up, who do you think is going to wipe your ass?
Right.
Well, it's always like, well, a nurse. And I said, listen, let me explain something to you, dude. There's 3 people in your life that are going to clean up after you when you're bedridden.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is the nurse. Number 2 is your mother. And the chances are your mother's no longer around.
Right.
Number 3 is your wife.
Right.
Now, forget your mother. Between the nurse and the wife, who would you want cleaning your butt?
Exactly.
You see, you got to cultivate that, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most people forget what's the first thing that they were attracted to their wife. What, for example, if I were to ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what was the first thing that attracted you to Tammy when you met her?
Just her personality, really.
There you go.
I mean, granted, she is beautiful, but
There you go. Okay.
just her personality.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Most people they don't even know. They say, well, yeah, dude, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I met, the first time I saw my wife,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see her face. She had her back to me.
Mm-hmm.
She was wearing this 2-piece suit. My wife has got Cuban legs. Cuban legs are thick legs. My wife's got thick legs, the ankles. I'm a Southern boy.
Yeah.
I like everything from the waist down. It's just me.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw my wife from behind, this is the joke in the family. I saw my wife from behind and I said, oh my God, long blonde hair down to her waist. And I said, I remember this was when I opened up my first sporting goods store.
Uh-huh.
And I had a friend of mine next to me and I'm looking at my wife and I see her from behind and I said, my God, I was married then.
Wow.
Things weren't going well. I knew it was a matter of time, but I saw her and I fell in love with her the moment I saw her from behind, dude.
Wow. Wow.
And I said, I'm going to marry that woman. And the kid says to me that he's one of my sales. He's a nice guy. He says to me, but you're married. I says, yeah, but that's not going to last long. I'm going to marry that. And he says, who is she? And I says, I have no idea.
No idea. Wow.
No idea.
Wow.
And from there, I could tell you the whole story, how it goes. But I remember everything about my wife. I remember the first time I looked in her eyes, the first time I touched her hand, the first kiss, the first time. I remember everything, what she was wearing. You say, well, Ralph, you're sick.
Yeah. Wow.
I made it a point.
Yeah. There you go.
So,
44 years later, there you are.
And we still talk about it. And I still tell people, I tell you what she was wearing when we went here, when we went there, what she was doing, everything.
Wow.
Not because I'm better than anybody. I just made it a point.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
See? So it seems like you have a great relationship with Tammy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You're in the minority. I have to tell you, from my experiences, you're in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
You got to cultivate them.
I'm happy. I mean,
absolutely.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And
every time one of us leaves the house or whatever, give a kiss. I love you. And you never know if they're not coming back. So
try it, big.
Yeah, hopefully they do. But
yeah.
So
I mean, we could talk forever. I got
Mhm.
stories that'll blow your mind. Just some of the crap that's happened to us,
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
But man, there's nothing like having someone by your
Oh,
side
definitely.
come hell
Definitely.
or high water.
Definitely.
When I had my heart surgery,
Mm-hmm.
the doctor says you're a dead man walking, dude.
Wow.
And it was,
And that was just a few years ago, wasn't it?
No, it was just last June.
Oh, last June. That's right.
Last June.
Wow.
Doctor said, you should have been dead 3 months ago. But
wow.
Here's the kicker about that. When I was being hauled into for surgery, and even after surgery, not once did I ever think, oh my God, I'm going to die. The only thing I thought about during that time was the fact that I knew she was there.
Yep.
That may sound corny.
No.
But that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
That's all that mattered. When I remember opening up my eyes after the surgery, and first thing I saw, nothing else mattered. And with all due respect to my kids, they were all there and stuff like that. But the only thing that mattered was that.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about your podcast.
Okay.
On the screen behind you, you have Life, Sports, Music, and Beer. I know you have another podcast out there. Tell us about, how did you get into podcasting?
That's an interesting story because, I retired. We have a music conservatory also. My wife has been in the music business for over 30 years. She's a piano teacher. She used to be a great pianist. And now her arthritis, for the last few years, has been sitting in. But we've been in the business for the musical business for, oh my God, over 30 years.
Wow.
And I've always loved talking to artists and people. I don't know. Do you have many friends that are musicians?
Not many. I went to high school with some that are, but not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Yeah. I've hung around with musicians for many, many years. They're all artists. My wife is also an artist. She paints. These people that are artists, I don't know if you know this, they live in another universe.
Yeah.
They're like very ethereal. My wife is like, she just enjoys life. My wife gets up every day with a smile on her face, and musicians, by the most part, are like that. They don't worry about everyday shit. They just, So I've always been interested in people and their stories. And one of the things that I realized some time ago, and this is how we met, one of the things that I found out I was interested, I would love to listen to people's stories. Because I think there's always something to learn from every story. I don't think there's any story that's not worth telling. I get some people that I said, tell me your story. Talk to me about, and some people would say, I don't have much to say. I don't have a story. I says, yes, you do. Now, what's amazing is that I would go, because I talk to everybody. I go out and we go to a restaurant and I talk to everybody. Somebody walks by me and, hey, I like that shirt. It's amazing to me, Paul, when you start talking to people, you just open the door and people start just telling you about their life and their family and how. And that proved to me that people are they're dying to tell their story.
Yeah.
And I figured out that was because nobody asked, number one, nobody asked them about them. And number two, if they do tell your story, nobody listens. Especially,
it's kind of like one of those things where you're walking past somebody, hey, how you doing? Are you really interested in how they're doing, or are you just being polite?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right.
But you know what? And I don't want to sound pretentious or anything, but when I ask somebody, and I learned this because I was always like that, but I got to some point in my life, and I think it was when I was in the Amway business of going out speaking. One of when we went out speaking, we had a part of the seminar was in the afternoon, and then we would break for an early dinner, and then we would come back at night. The early part of the session was a teaching session on how to build the Amway business.
Right.
The evening portion was the story portion where you told your story.
Oh, okay.
You shared your story.
Right.
And I remember after, we were celebrities back then in that world. You finished and, people would line up for your autograph. It was very humbling. But I remember people telling me, oh, what a beautiful story. The way you met your wife.
Yeah.
No, people were moved by certain things that you said. So I think it planted the seed that people are so hungry to tell somebody about their life.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I would.
Yeah. So this thing got started one day. I'm talking to Kyle, and I said, because I was doing my other podcast, it's called You and the Truth. We talk politics and stuff like that, but I'm getting tired of politics.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about you.
I've never really liked politics. I don't understand it all the time. I'm like, you know what? Save it for somebody else. Let's talk sports or music, and I'm good.
The sad part is that politics affects us in everything we do.
Exactly.
But it's gotten to a point now where it's just so overwhelming. And I got another story to tell about that, where it's actually affected my wife and her lifestyle, all this politics. But then one day I said to myself, I says, man, I'm so tired of listening to all this crap about all the junk that's going out. And I was talking to Kyle. By the way, those that don't know, Kyle is our producer.
Yep.
Wonderful guy.
He's
super talented.
I mean, in so many different facets.
Oh my God, the guy's incredible. I says, Kyle, shut up. You're overloading me, man. All this stuff that he gives me is like, Jesus. Right? It's just like, oh my God. And I'm talking to him one day. I said, Kyle, I'm so tired of this crap, all this political shit. I says, man, I just wish we could get people on and just talk about life. He says, yeah, that's a good idea, man. He says, and you know what? What about sports? Because I says, yeah, sports is I don't care how isolated you are. Somewhere in your life, you were influenced by sports.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere, somebody.
Yeah.
And music is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
So we started kicking around, and I said, why don't we do something rather than political that has to do with, life and sports and all that kind. We first thought of life, sports, and beer. And then when I said, because I share everything with my wife, and I says, hey, honey, listen, we're thinking about doing life, sports, and beer. And she says, well, what about music?
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you're right. Music is everywhere. Tell me one area of your life, Paul, that doesn't involve music.
Hardly any. I mean, I always we have a stereo system upstairs. I either have that on or have my AirPods on, and I'm listening to music. I can't get enough of it. I mean, it just takes you away to a better place sometimes, and just a feel good thing.
Yeah. What's interesting? She said, because I said, hey, life, sports, I got to get back into sports. And she says, yeah, but you don't understand something. Music can exist without sports. But sports would not be the same without music.
Right.
And I said, oh, I never thought about it that way. She says, yeah. Turn on any sporting events, go to a sporting event, there's music.
Yep.
And I said, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you go to a music event, there's no sports.
No. No.
She made a lot of sense.
Sports, baseball has everybody's walk-up music in between innings. There's music. Hockey, stoppage of play, there's music.
National anthem.
I shouldn't forget that. Yeah. Everything.
So I called Kyle and I said, hey, Kyle, I got to throw another music. And he says, oh, I love it, man. And I said, how about food? He says, well, listen, this name can get so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So beer, and because I remember back, some of the greatest relationships and stories ever told were over a beer.
Sitting at a bar like this one here.
Yeah, you got it. I'm telling you, that's a man cave if I've ever seen one. That's beautiful down there, man.
But yeah, I mean, sitting around drinking beer, having fun, or wine or water or whatever. Doesn't have to be alcohol.
That's what it's all about, dude. There's nothing
sitting there
greater in
just
life.
chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how the idea got started. And then I threw in the tell your story, and we talked about that. And I said, man, if we can just people, I listen to all these podcasts, and it's always they bring on these celebrities, which
Hmm.
is cool. But I said, how about regular people?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
If you think that you can't learn something from someone else, you're in trouble.
Hmm.
You can learn something from everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now you had, was it your cousin Jim Mansilla?
Jim Mansella.
He was on, and the his big story started with him writing a letter,
Yeah.
and it went from there. He took a chance, like you did, took a chance on something, and boom, all of a sudden you have a whole life event, big life event,
Yeah. If you
and
haven't
it's
listened to
incredible.
that, yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
you need to listen to that. It's called My Journey to the Olympics, the Jim Mansilla story.
Yeah.
He was a young man. He was
Hmm.
involved in baseball and stuff like that. And he wrote a letter. He was prompted to write, hey, write a letter to this guy in Italy somewhere. And he wrote this letter saying, hey,
Yeah.
listen, my name is so and so. And that changed the entire course of his life. And
Yeah.
now
Had
he's
he
70.
not written that letter,
Yeah.
what do you think? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And well, it comes back to a biblical principle. I always bring it, you gotta, it's the little things in life that count.
Hmm.
Paul. It's the little things that most of us do not do, like write that letter
Right.
or say that one thing that we want to say to someone.
Hmm.
The little things that could make a huge difference in our lives.
Right.
We concentrate on the big events. No, no, no,
Right.
no, no. My dad, who was a very, very wise man, he would always tell me, he says, son, concentrate on the little things in life.
Right.
And if you do enough little things, they will turn into huge things.
Right.
My father, I admired my father. And the reason I wanted to have a relationship with my wife like that, because I never saw my father and my mother argue. They had the most
Hmm.
beautiful relationship. It was just, they were the envy of everybody that we knew because they
Hmm.
were just so good together. But I remember my father telling me, son, you got to tell your wife every day she's the most beautiful woman in the world.
Hmm. Hmm.
You couldn't live without her,
Hmm.
and you will always be faithful to her.
Yep.
But you got to tell her every day because she probably won't believe you at first.
Right.
But if you tell her every day, somewhere along the line, it'll click in.
But then if you skip a day, something's wrong.
Yeah,
She'll come after you.
you're absolutely right. But you know what the key, you're absolutely right. But you know what the key is?
Hmm.
Not to skip a day.
Right.
How do you not skip a day?
Right.
I've learned all these things through life.
Hmm.
It's like any habit that you
Hmm.
form. Habits are formed, there's different lines of thinking, but habits are formed between 27 and 31 days,
Yep.
right? You probably heard
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So if you make it a point to do something for that long a time, it becomes habit.
Hmm.
And women, that's what they feed off of.
Hmm.
They feed off. We could go into this whole thing. I've written
Yeah.
seriously. I've written an enormous amount of material on relationships. Not that I'm right, but I'm just saying stuff that I've learned throughout the years.
Yeah.
So if you tell your wife those three things, you're going to have a happy marriage. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Exactly.
So how the hell
And
did we
hopefully
get
she'll feel the same way about you.
Yeah, well, with us, it's a little bit different because
Yeah.
we're totally different than that, dude.
Yeah.
We're totally different than women.
Yeah.
But we have our things because I always say, you know what men are?
Pigs.
Well, that's one way to look at it. We are pigs.
There's that dry sense of humor.
Oh, I love that. But you're right. Men are pigs. I always thought my wife, we're pigs. We're
Yeah.
pigs. But men are little kids with the long legs.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
all we are.
My wife always says that she has two kids,
Got two
me and
kids.
Thomas. Yeah. So
There you go.
I don't argue the fact.
No, no. But most women don't. They don't understand. They don't understand the way to get into to really build a relationship with a man. We're so much simpler than them simply because we're animals.
Hmm.
We really Women are much more cerebral than we are. They can feel things we don't feel. Imagine carrying a child inside of you for 9 months, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfathomable to us. How can we even imagine that? And then having that child come out through an orifice.
That's not that big.
No. I mean, it's like really, we get a headache. Oh, I'm dying. Oh God, I got a cold. And
we're knocked out for a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And women do. They're incredible. I'm telling you, women. We could do a whole thing on women, which is something else. I've got some ladies lined up that I want to bring on the show because we got a lot to learn from women.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So how did we get into that conversation?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
I don't remember. And you're only in your 40s. You're 49. See,
49.
71. I got an excuse. I just don't.
I played soccer, so I did a lot of head balls. So that's my excuse.
That's
my excuse.
It took its toll. Huh?
Yeah, but that hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea how we got there.
I know. You were asking me something about. I don't know what the hell.
Your podcast. You were talking about your wife included music.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about childbirth.
Yeah, Paul. This is what I've learned. If you can go through life and influence one person in your life, you've done the job.
Exactly.
Sad part is that most people really believe that they have no influence in somebody's life. They never get the opportunity. And if they did, well, who's going to listen to me? I got nothing to say. No, you're wrong. My dad would always tell me, remember, when you get in a group of people, you want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
I'm easily the dumbest one in any room.
There you go. And he said to me, my wife, my husband was incredible. I mean, my father, he said to me, he says, you want to be the humblest guy in the room. Listen, don't talk so much. Listen to what people say. Exactly. You'll get your chance to tell your story if you sit around long enough, somebody. And he was right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the whole thing between life, sports, music, and beer. And then I met you.
And your life went downhill.
Yeah, it was all downhill after that. There's good points and bad points. Yeah, but you see, no, I mean, come on. It's like, look at you. You started talking to me about St. Louis. And dude, I can't tell you how many memories. My head was flooded with memories of my brother and my father and the stadium and I could smell the popcorn and the beer. I remember to this day walking into Busch Stadium. Dude. By the way, it was 1968 because I asked my brother.
Okay.
What stadium was that?
That was probably Busch Stadium 2. I was looking over at a picture over there. I wasn't. I'm going to look it up because I'm pretty sure that Busch Stadium 2 was built in 67.
And for those of you who are watching that have never been to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, you need to go out there.
It was 1966 to 2005. So yeah. Busch Stadium 1 was previously Sportsman Park. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
just majestic.
I was going to the new Busch Stadium 3 now, one time, and I was meeting my mom and dad there or something. So I was driving myself, and I was getting off the elevator in the parking garage, and there was a husband and wife, or man and woman, from Chicago. I think they were playing the Cubs that time. And we get out of the elevator, and when the doors open, you see Busch Stadium there. Their first reaction was, "What a dump this place is." I'm like, "Really?
Are you serious?"
Really? Yeah. And Wrigley Field doesn't smell like toilet all the time. I've never been there, but I mean,
I have.
Yeah, but really, this is a dump. Yeah, whatever, lady.
I think it's that animosity, right?
That's. I would probably think the same thing of Wrigley Field when I go there, but you know.
I mean, it's natural.
Kind of like you and the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. I got a bunch of family members who are all Boston Red Sox, and the only reason they're Boston Red Sox fan is because I'm a Yankees fan.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were. I'll never forget the first. What was the first World Series they won in after 100 years? What was it?
That was against. That was 05. That was against us. They swept us.
Rubbing that in my face.
Well, they made that stupid movie over it. That Drew Barrymore. I forgot what the name of the movie was.
Oh yeah, right.
But yeah, the final scene was filmed at Busch Stadium when they won the World Series there.
Yeah, and I remember them calling me and showing, or I remember one of them showing up at my house, just laughing at me, and I'm thinking to myself, "Are you serious?"
Mm-hmm. How many World Series have they won as compared to the Yankees? Yeah.
Come on, man. You know, it's like, how many times you want me to take you back? How many?
Yeah.
But gee, that's the cool thing about sports, man. It just brings, it just. You can bring people together or tear them apart. It's like politics. Politics can either bring people together or just tear them apart.
Exactly.
I used to take it personal with this Boston thing. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
Because I always say one thing: 27.
Yep.
27.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you hit the 20s, let me know. We'll talk.
What, Cardinals are at 11 now? We've got a ways to go. But
who's second?
We are Cardinals.
You are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yankees, and then
I thought it was 13.
No, we got 11.
11, huh?
Yeah, that's got 11 on it.
And I would imagine the Dodgers are there.
I don't know how many they have offhand, but they're not as many as the Cardinals.
Yeah. Well, we got to have you on because we're going to start doing now that baseball season is around the corner. We're going to start doing a weekly show on, recapping the games.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
You know where to find me. I'll do it.
I know.
I'll be there.
Rick's really into that. So we got, and I know Jim wanted to come on and do it. So I'm not really interested in doing that. I told Kyle, I says, I'd love to host it.
Yeah.
And have you guys go around the horn and pick your games of the week and just, all that kind of stuff. I think it'd be interesting. But man, hey, sports is a wonderful part of life. I don't care.
No kidding.
It's just so many sports out there, so for those of you that, that just want to hear all kinds of takes on stuff and see how everything is intertwined, life, sports, music, and beer. It's just awesome.
Great show. Yeah. Great show.
It's wonderful.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure.
To sit down and talk with us. It's been a great time, as always.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you, bud.
You got it.
We will be right back.
Take care.
And there you have it, everybody. Ralph Valdes. I will have the links to his podcast, You and the Truth, and Live Sports, Music, and Beer. I'll have those in the description of the show here today. So hope you all enjoyed it. And don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notices every time we have a new episode. So until next time, thanks for watching, everybody.